What, did he spell my name?
Sunday! On the race lane 72, U.S. 30 Dragster. The Coca-Cola bottle of Chicago Land presents the Mr. Chevrolet USA Super Dual Body Car Showdown. From Pennsylvania, it's three-time national champion Jungle Jim Lieberman. From Dallas, Texas, Martin Martin Dragon Vega. From Alabama, the bold one, Bobby Wood. From New Jersey, Bruce Weston's fantastic USA 150.
I was going to say, I like that.
What do you think about that?
That's awesome. That's pretty good.
Like it. Who else in here?
That thing is bitching, right?
Yes.
Oh, man, there's so many people in here. Gosh. Well, Don English is in here, the one-eyed cat, Mopar Mustangs and minivans, Scarlet, the four-eyed Cuda. Uncle Squirrel stopped by, said he's going to have to watch it later when he gets home. Mexican Spec is here. Fab Race Mod Repeat is here from Northeast Dragway. POD Wheels, I don't know who that is. It's a new one for me. Mohawk 62, Miss Elizabeth Professor P. And Kevin is here. Kevin says hello. Bill McKyska. Hey, y'all. How's it going? It's a special edition. I'm sorry I'm not with everybody at PRI. I had two sick children at home that I had to pretty much accommodate. So I am going to try to be there tomorrow, though. Hopefully that's good for everyone.
All right.
Yeah. I might have to sleep in the PRI building.
Yeah, no, you're good because, you know, I sleep on the floor, right? And so he's got this suite. So I've been sleeping out here in the office part. He's got his own room. You got your own bed back there. So.
Oh, sweet. Are you guys at your hotel right now?
Yeah. So they closed the mezzanine at the convention center at 6.
Oh.
He had to use his translator app to get a guy working there who didn't speak English to tell us, but he confirmed that the mezzanine closed at 6. We had the perfect place, perfect backdrop, everything.
I took a picture.
Everything was good except it closed at 6. And it's because they have vendors down there. So there wouldn't be any security over us because it overflowed the convention center.
Check out that. How cool would that have been? That
What is
picture.
that? I cannot see it. Oh, yeah, that's the background with the PRI. So you guys like the upstairs that I told you was like, hey, no one goes up there.
It was great, but they closed it down.
At 6,
Oh,
they
that
shut it and lock it all up because they actually had overflow of people out in that hallway, so they had to shut it all down.
It was going to be good. It would have been good for there, but
Well, I guess the big one is, so you got Levi and Miss Levi here.
Yep.
You got Professor P.
Yep.
And there's the fabulous John Wilburn and Mr. Clint from Clint Street Machines. So that's who is. Am I missing anyone?
Jason Fitch, Colleen Tebow, Jay from Rapid Transit.
Yeah, we got some more sneaking in right now.
I had a big time, man. I got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a few years. Every like 10 minutes, I was seeing someone I hadn't seen in 2 years, so it was nice. These guys probably got tired of watching me stop and say hi to everyone.
No, Pulido is the mayor of PRI. He knows everybody.
So he was the right guy to send there to rub elbows because he knows everyone, huh?
Yeah.
Well, perfect. And well, so what have you guys seen today?
All kinds of stuff.
Where to start? Where to start? I mean, it's massive. It's just.
Well, what stands out in your mind is like probably the coolest thing you've seen today. Did you see any pictures of Levi's car doing burnouts at the No Name Nationals?
Okay. So Pulido is interested in a set of pedals that cost more than some of the houses I've bought, but they look really nice.
They look really nice. It'll take the pedals on my 68 Dart, you know, that swing from up top. They'll put them down below, and it's infinitely adjustable, and I dig that.
I have only bought 2 vehicles that cost more than these pedals, but they are nice pedals, as they should be.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, and that's the plan is for the Desert Dart, I take it, huh?
Yes, that's correct.
We saw a $20,000 transmission too.
Oh, we saw a $20,000 transmission. That you can change the gears on. So in changing the rear end gear, you can take it out and then pop the front cover off and then change the input gears. So you could actually change the whole ratio, like not just you won't change the 1 through 6, but you can actually just change where it's at. So all the ratios stay the same distance, but it changes it like going from like a 355 to like a 411 gear. It's an amazing.
Do you,
But in all actuality, wouldn't it be easier to just change the rear end gear?
No, because they make this thing basically pop right out. So it's 4 bolts to pull the tranny out, and then it's a housing that pops off, and you put that right back on. It is absolutely easy.
you know how you change the input bearing on something like a Ford top loader? You got 4 bolts and it just pulls out.
Oh, right out the front.
This is exactly the same on a transmission. You pull that cover off, and then it has 2 straight cut gears, just like a quick change rear in a transmission.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty.
And you change your counter shaft and your input gear, and then just stick the input shaft back in. The input shaft goes in with a C-clip, and then back in the car. And you've just changed all your ratios now.
Oh, that is pretty badass. But it costs like $11 less than Pulido's pedal bucket.
So this transmission, we looked at it. It's really super cool. They've already got it with an adapter plate to go in place of the T56. They can clearly tell that's their market.
Yeah.
It's great, but it costs twice what a Liberty dual counter shaft 5-speed costs. So yeah, twice.
That is one thing at PRI that you can run into, is that like price is no object, right?
Oh my god,
Absolutely the case.
oh my gosh. Yeah, there was some cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
We found our next upgrade in turbo. So
What's that?
we found our next turbo.
Was it? It's not an eBay special.
Nope.
No.
Nope. It's a lot bigger than that.
Well, that
Yeah.
Rapid Transit Garage snuck in here, and so did Buck from Buck Does It.
Yeah.
So what is happening, Buck? I figured Buck would be at PRI. He's not too far from there.
Dallas, when are you coming up?
Probably tomorrow morning.
How early? Crazy o'clock, and we gonna leave in a few hours. I guess it's a good drive.
Well, I'm debating on whether or not to even sleep and just drive, right? Because I'm already a couple of days behind.
Jump in the truck right after this live and come crash, and you just get up and roll on with 3 hours of sleep and be grouchy.
I'll send you the address, and I'll put a card key in my box. That way you just come in and climb into bed.
Hey, is this Pulido? All right, I'm climbing in right now.
If it's not Pulido, don't tell me I'm really tired.
Well, it sounds like it could be fun. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm still trying to get everything packed up. They're ready to head out, and I might just get up and leave at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I don't know yet. I'm playing it by ear, and everything is I guess 8 pounds of crap in a 5-pound sack.
So tomorrow night, though, I got a really cool live. You'll be able to come up and join me. Celebrity Machines, Travis Bell. So we'll get to look at his license plate, warehouse, and his car collection and all that good stuff. So if you're up here Friday, you can do that.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I plan on being there. I don't know when I'm going to get there. I know it opens at like 9, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be there at 9?
No, we'll probably wait a little bit like we did this time, because we avoided all the lines. Plus, we know of a secret place to park that's half the price of what you were saying. So it's I don't want to say it on but I'll tell you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, did you see the one I was telling you about, the hotel one?
Yes, but they actually closed it off for employees only now.
Oh crap! Really?
Yeah, we got a better deal.
We got a better deal. It's half the price.
Don't worry about it.
And it's right there.
Don't worry about it.
And it's all day?
All day.
Oh, sweet.
$30.
All right.
$30.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a good deal. I did like the convenience of that hotel, though, where you just like walk out the door of PRI and right into your car.
Well, this is almost just the same.
Oh, okay. That's just as good then.
Yeah.
If it'd only make it better if they had like let's say a mass transit system, like a train. You're in downtown, and so why wouldn't they have like a trolley or a tram or a train or something? But I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with lithium batteries. I have no idea. Well, so Mexican Spec is saying, will somebody please tell me what PRI is? All right, so PRI is the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. It's the biggest trade show for like essentially the community of hot rodders and gearheads. You got you have your SEMA, but everything that SEMA is PRI. right? So it's more focused on racing and hot rod stuff. You see a lot less booger welds because the cars are meant to pass tech.
You know what? I didn't see one booger weld today at all. Every car there was an actual race car that passed some sort of certification.
It was up to my part of welding. So
Yeah.
Well, did you find any parts for your ramp truck, Levi?
No, I did not.
Go ahead. Talk.
No? Man, we should put a Buick 455 in that thing and you'll be happy.
Go ahead.
We're checking out some of the new innovation, but anyway, we're seeing all kinds of interesting things, new innovation. If you want to see stuff that's new before you can even buy it, this is the place to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember how we were talking about lifters and you were talking about lifters that with new tech and we were talking about cams going flat and stuff? And
Right.
you asked me a question, I said no comment because I knew that it was going to be released here. So I actually showed it to them because it's at the Edelbrock Comp Cams table. It's a DLS coded lifter, so that way you never have to break your cams in ever again, and you never have to replace them.
Oh, is it like it's like the stuff that they're putting on the wrist pins and stuff, the DLC, the diamond light coating?
Yeah, DLC. Sorry,
Diamond
DLC.
light coating.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. And it's
Yeah.
black then, right?
Yes, and it's just on the top, and we've tested it to 10 million cycles with no scratching, no nothing. It's an amazing product.
Well-
it looks like black chrome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Olive says that also booger weld sounds like it could be a bold screen name for someone. And that would definitely be within our community.
Yeah, I can see that.
And well,
I'll take the pictures of that, but that's actually really a good product that stands out for most of us that run flat tappets. It could be a total game changer for that whole market.
really?
Yeah.
Well, so because there's a lot of people now at this point. I mean, because flat tappet cams have just been an epic failure in the past. Well, I'll say from like 2006 on up, it just got continually more difficult to break one in without flattening the cam.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go back and you watch like the TV shows that were hot around the time, like what is the Gas Monkey guys? Remember the first few years they had like every engine that came through the shop that was going in a car had a flat cam in it to begin with.
Yeah.
And they had already had it rebuilt, and then the guy would have to bend over backwards and rebuild it again, and then they'd have to go through the break-in procedure. Man, it just a lot of that scares me. But I think I told you guys what I was doing. I was sticking with the old technology stuff, and I'd find new old stock stuff and just cram it in the motor, and then you wouldn't have a problem because whatever was going on with the new stuff wasn't happening with the old stuff. So I'd always stick with the old stuff, and even if you had to pay more, or it took you 6 months to get a set of lifters together, you generally didn't have to replace the camshaft after break-in.
Mayhem Motorsports has an interesting one there. Comment. I don't know what that goes with, but he says nice as long as the taper is correct on both parts.
Oh, I was just I was just looking at that. There was a video that someone released I watched earlier today. Powell Machine, they did a hardness test on there's probably 10 camshafts, and I think he had 4, 5, 6 different lifters, and he did a hardness check on them all with using a Rockwell gauge, right, or a Rockwell machine, and all of them were above like the factory GM one for a Chevrolet from the 80s, which everybody knows that they would go flat over a course of 20 years, right? It was like the common thing. If you got a 86 Monte Carlo with a 305, go ahead and change a cam out because it's probably missing half the lobes. But now he did this video on it. And that one had a Rockwell test of a 46 Rockwell, right? Mm-hmm. And the rest of them were like 55 and up. And he was showing that all the cam cores, even in the United States, all the cam cores essentially come from one company called CWC, right? And he's like, they're all made in the USA. I don't understand why people are saying Chinesium and this and that. And then he checked lifters, like he bought a set of lifters, like the eBay special $35 lifters, checked them. They were like 56 Rockwell. And so, but then he was also showing a Buick cam that had wiped out, and the guy had used 3 of them, and all the lobes had no taper to them, 0 taper. So, maybe that's what's going on. I don't have no idea. I just know that I try to stick to my factory stuff because guaranteed it's not going to fail. Well, not guaranteed, I guess, but a lot less possibility of failure.
For less than 20,000 miles, right?
Yes. So
Best news he's heard all year. Hope it works and is priced fairly.
Yes.
Me too.
well, so
That stuff.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get prices on a lot of this stuff. You have to ask.
Yeah.
Some of it you're sorry you asked. But
Well-
I think the lifters will probably be reasonable.
since Shane is sitting there right now and he knows about this stuff and he wasn't allowed to talk about it before PRI, now that PRI is happening and the general public can see it, what is the price? I guess for your DLC stuff, is it a reasonable price for the reasonable thing?
I have no idea because I don't do anything with pricing, but I'm going to ask a task right now and find out what we got. So give me a second.
All right. Yeah, cool. Man, this is what's cool about knowing somebody on the inside. You can literally just like
Yeah,
text.
yeah. This is actually the vice president of sales. So yeah.
Oh, dude, is he gonna hate on you now? I'm
No.
live on YouTube and we're talking about the brand new DLC coded lifters, and it's the camshaft DLC as well.
No, it doesn't need to be.
Okay, just
It's gonna be Parkerized and then nitrided, so that way it's hard as nails. It'll be slippery, so it'll be just fine. But you will wear out the camshaft before the lifters, 100%.
well. So here's the question, I guess. Do you have to do a camshaft break-in if you got a DLC coded lifter?
Nope, you basically put it in there, start it up, and drive on down the road.
So it's just about like a roller then
You
for
got
a
it.
flat tapping. That's the big game changer right there.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because there are benefits to having a flat tap at camp. We were talking about those today.
Mhm.
People don't realize with your ramps and lobes and so forth, there are some advantages, not to mention in class racing where you cannot run a roller, and places where you'd have to retrofit it to be really expensive. Like I like
We do it
like
350.
well, perfect example. I have a 340 Chrysler block. I want to build a 340 because it's vintage correct for my car. It's expensive to retrofit a 340 with roller lifters. But this is probably the perfect thing for what I want to do. To have
Yeah.
a flat tap that will live.
Well, here you go. Look at this. Andrew Nelson says, "Sorry to get a chance to meet up with you today. Hope to see you guys tomorrow."
They're in town. I guess they couldn't make it tonight, but we'll see them tomorrow.
Well, you should look out for like
And Patrick,
you should just open the window of your hotel and listen for the meanest six-cylinder you ever heard of. Right? So, but all right, Patrick from Mostly Old Parts and Rust says we'll be there at PRI tomorrow. So
That's good.
I'll be there with you. I guess I need to wear my AHRA shirt, huh?
Yeah,
and bring Shane's.
yeah, bring mine too. Where's mine?
Yeah, we'll all match.
Oh, did you have one?
I got the colors today, see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine.
No, I was talking about Shane. Did I get you one?
Yeah, you told me you're gonna bring me one.
Oh, all right. So I have one. That's one of those things I got to pack up. I'm probably going to be pulling an all-nighter just to get everything packed to head up there. John, you want me to bring them wheels and tires?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. You could put
Okay, that's another thing I got to pack. All day.
Yeah. Fab race, mod repeat, no break-in period will be huge.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. No more crossing your fingers and hoping you don't have $1,000 time bomb in 20 minutes.
Yes. And we tested those to 10 million cycles. 10 million cycles.
Yeah, that's killer.
Yeah.
So like you run it for 10 million revolutions, or you like 10 million like 500 seconds.
Yeah, up and down cycles means the lifter went up and down 10 million times. And so
Okay.
we run it from 3,000 to like say 7,500, then back down to 2,500, then up to 7,500, back down to 3,000. So it just constantly is going up and down for 8 hours a day, and it does that for weeks.
Well, how about this? This might sound dumb. What happens if you got one of those cam and lifter sets and you did a break-in on it because you wanted to be extra careful? It wouldn't affect it, right?
No, wouldn't hurt anything. You still got to run all the the massage oils and the correct phosphorus and zinc, but you still got to put it in there. But there's really no point. Breaking the rings correctly. Then how about that?
Yeah, gotcha. Well, so Andrew Nelson says they had a bunch of folks stopping us to discuss six-cylinder stuff. Really fun. I'm a fan. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they did like 2 years ago. I did Slanted Nationals. I guess it was 2 years ago, right? 18 months, something like that.
No, no, over 2 years. This is September of 2020.
Yeah. I really like the odd stuff that you play with, and it's not so much the engine or the stuff that you do. It's more or less the thinking outside the box, true hot rodderism that I like about it, right? Like you build stuff that nobody else builds, and there's an engine that's not supported whatsoever, parts support or aftermarket race support, and you make it work anyway. That's real hot rodding. That's real gearhead, right? That's how it started. And before you had all these off-the-shelf parts that you could bolt on whatever, that's how you did it.
Yeah.
And that's what made it, made it fun. You would think your way around it. It wasn't always the guy that had the most money, because you can only go so far with money at that point.
Yeah.
But Olive says, let's see here. I think break-in periods suit my temperament. I'm going to be nervous anyway. I think that's standard run of the mill. I'm always nervous every time I fire one up. And man, I tell you, like the very first time I did one on Tony's live, we did the Wednesday night Tech Talk live, and I fired up that 455 Buick on there to show a proper break-in procedure. I literally, you probably could zoom the camera in and see me sweating chicken eggs. I mean, I literally was freaking sweating bullets because I did not want it to fail on live YouTube stream with like 20,000 people watching or whatever. But now it's gotten a lot less hectic because I've done so many of them. But when I did Jack the Giant Killer, that was a 308 cubic inch Buick with a flat tappet cam. And we used an old Isky cam that was in the motor. I couldn't even find there was no cam card available for it. It was made before there was like, you would have got a cam card in 1960 something, right? But it would have been not what you normally see. It would have had probably like intake valve opening, intake valve closing. It wouldn't have had a diagram. And they would have had lift and duration. I don't even know if it would have been advertised with any at 50 information.
No, it would have just been timing events. That's how they used to do back then.
Really?
Like opening timing events at 5 thousandths or 6, depending on whose cam it was.
Well, it had a Isky part number stamped in the back, and that's what I narrowed it down to because it was the Buick line. It was the part number Buick line that they had. It was like, I want to say it started with like a 60 or 65 or something like that. And then, but I could not find any information on that camshaft. So I cleaned it off with some kerosene, wiped it down, put some grease on it, and crammed it in there and hoped for the best. And it turned out great. But I was sweating bullets because that thing had some serious double spring pressure. And, I had a lot of time and money in that motor, but it turned out great. So Fab Race Mod Repeat says, I definitely need to wear my AHRA shirt. Yeah, definitely I will. Patrick says, John, didn't you go to 318 Fest?
Yes, Dallas and I both were there last year.
Yeah, and Andy Wood was there too.
Yeah, 318 Fest? I didn't know about that.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
At Jake's Dragway in northern Alabama, they had 318 Fest. The guys from Randy Muscle Cars put it on, and they wanted to find the fastest 318.
Dude, that is awesome. I would have been there if I'd have known about that.
Yeah, well, it's an annual event, Shane. So I mean, you can put something together for your dart and go bust off a freaking 640 with your 318 motor.
I got a small block setup in there. I could put a 318 in there and let her eat.
Yeah.
We were there. We saw one guy. He backed his Dakota, small block Dakota, off the trailer. We heard a crunching sound and a bunch of tapping.
Yeah.
He dented his oil pan. He hit a counterweight. Put his 318 back on the trailer. That was his day. All day.
Well, they did spend like an hour and a half trying to get it off the trailer so it didn't damage the motor anymore. But he didn't check like the clearance for the dovetail on the trailer and the oil pan.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole day was over before he finished backing off the trailer.
And it sounded extra mean. It did sound good. I was like, holy cow, because it revved super fast. I'm like, wow, that is going to be a good run at 318. And then it was like, okay, you know, and I went and talked to the guy and he was just disgusted, you know.
When is that 318 Fest? Because that sounds amazing. I've got
Well,
318 blocks.
That was like April or May.
It was in
Early
May.
May?
It was in early May, but I think they said that was the tune-up for their bigger 3.8 for a third event in October. I don't know the way it's promoted. I couldn't quite tell. I'll hook you up with it.
Okay. I got those 360-1 hits. I'm gonna make a 318.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking rip.
Yeah, you make big 318 and put them on the shape. Yeah.
Well, it would be cool. Like, I don't know what kind of cylinder head you got that could fit a 318, but probably just a stock LA head, right? Or a Magnum. That's about it.
Ones.
Drag Boss is in here. What's happening, Drag Boss Tim? I talked to your buddy Lake Speed Jr. today. He was putting on his clinic on lubricants and rings, the Total Seal booth.
Well, did you see anything extra neat, like new oil or new fuels or anything like that?
I didn't look at that stuff. I was looking at more products most of the time.
I've seen a couple new fuel companies that I've never heard of, but not new fuels.
He was busy being the mayor.
Yeah, here.
No
I was just saying
know.
hi. I was just saying hi to people I hadn't seen in a long time. It was nice.
Well, Daniel Jennings says, I pray you all flipped your pistons.
There were at least 8 flipped pistons at 318 Festival. Well, I can promise you.
I imagine that 318 Fest, they even flipped the crank.
There were probably exactly 8 if I had to make a bet. What's up, Buff Scrooge? Did you get home safely yet? Buff is on a mission to go pick up a 98 Pontiac, something that's supercharged, and drive it back from Texas.
What?
Yeah,
I did see that, yeah. He got a Grand Prix GTP and drove it back from Texas to his, I guess it said it was a forgotten 98 Grand Prix, but I don't know if you could really forget in 25 years, could you?
He wanted to trailer that thing. I said, nah, man, fly out there or drive it. Put your money on a table and say, this is what I got. I got to get back with it. He did. He Greyhounded out there and got it.
Well, so Patrick's saying that he wanted to go to 318 Fest, but I was still having problems with my 318. Maybe this year. I don't know. Whoa, look at this. Look at these guys that showed up. The James and James Show. What's up, everybody? Andrew Nelson says, we spent a bunch of time at various piston and rod manufacturers. We're trying to maximize our piston life at high horsepower levels. Oh, take the turbo off.
Did y'all see that boat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Track Boss,
Yeah.
he may not have turned it on and gone in his settings and turned it on YouTube.
Oh, what's that?
Where's your super chat button?
Mine?
Yeah, you probably didn't turn your monetization on for your live.
Oh, no, I probably forgot to do that.
He does that on purpose because it's expensive for you. That's
Yeah,
why.
I'm not trying to make any money off of this.
Right. I'm just saying that's where it is.
Yeah.
They default it that way on purpose, Tim. You know why? They do it because it's cheap. They cheat you.
Yeah, well, go figure. Wouldn't be the first time I've been cheated. Not even this year. Okay. Olive says, having a little Jägermeister and chilling, Buff had a very scattered day. So Buff says he made it home at 3 a.m. Let's see.
Olive says, think I got to amazingly farm out a transmission job soon. Meaning you normally do them in-house, but you're going to farm it out amazingly this time? Or it's an amazing transmission? What does that mean?
I thought he was getting a transmission off the farm.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. What does that mean?
I have no idea what he can mean by that, honestly.
I'd love
Maybe
to
he's
know.
going to start growing them.
What? I don't even know what that means. I might be able to figure it out. I'm just enough old enough.
On the live.
I don't do the emoji stuff, and so like I just found out like last week what the like purple eggplant means. And
Yeah,
so,
I didn't know what that meant either. I just thought it was like, oh, purple eggplant. I had no idea either, so don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. That's how Generation X I am, I guess. Let's see. Olive says auto transmissions are voodoo to me, but I can't lift this one. Oh, is this a cast iron piece?
I think doctors recommend you don't lift them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I lift them all the time. I'll tell you one that makes you just like in your blow your back end out is Turbo 400. Eat your Wheaties before you lift one of them suckers up.
I had to carry 3 last week.
Oh, we saw on display, what was that thing? What was that?
6L80.
A 6L80. And he says, hey, you know what this transmission is? I said, yes, one I never want to R9. That thing probably weighed 250, 300
It's
pounds.
massive. It's
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah, I can only imagine it because it's based off the 4, which is based off the Turbo 400, and then it's got 2 more gears, right?
yeah,
So-
but we've got one band in it. The rest of them are but basically so it's a very large transmission because of that.
Huh. So James is saying that their mom's buddy had a Grand Am, the supercharged one, when I was in high school, and he would take it out every now and then, and it would spin the front tires 300 feet. Those things run pretty good. I mean, it's a V6 Buick on boost. You know, I think National already proved that that's an easy win for it.
totally interactive.
Yeah. Go one down.
Wendy wants to know, what does the purple eggplant stand for?
West Dawn.
Go ask your husband.
Yeah. Just ask the one-eyed cat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Olive's saying that ask your doctor if the hernias are right for you. If you can get 3 Turbo 400s in one day, you will be getting them. Let's see here.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Fab Race Modern repeats saying try some A4OD bench presses. And I'll pass.
Yeah. That's another trend that sucks.
So Dakota's setting her straight here. I think the purple eggplant is symbolic for the male anatomy part.
Yeah, I think Dakota's about as subtle as a brick through a plate glass window.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, actually, what does male anatomy? He didn't actually say the whole word. So yeah.
Well, Donna said he already told her what it was.
Exactly. Like she's not going to know.
One-eyed cat. Yeah, that's a perfect name for it, right?
Well, Andrew Nelson saying a Turbo 400 is 26 pounds heavier than a Power Glide, which I did not know the Power Glide. I thought it was the lightest.
The
Yes,
6L80.
my car will be 26 pounds lighter or heavier.
What do you have in
Next
it
year.
now?
It'll be a Turbo 350.
What do you have in it now?
A 350.
Okay. But this is saying the TH400 is 26 pounds heavier than Power Glide, but a 400 is probably a whole heavier than a 350, I imagine.
Oh yeah,
Thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, man, the guy from TCI should know them numbers right off the top of his head.
I don't know, man.
I know I'm giving you a hard time. Like, who runs around measuring the weight of them?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I did it for a 904 and a 727, and it was 35 pounds heavier. A 727.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder what rotating mass difference is. Like, if you were to use the rotational weight of them and figure out or the rotational mass.
22 horsepower for a 904, and it's 50 horsepower plus for 727, depending on how many planetaries you have on it.
Oh, wow.
And a 400 is even worse than a 727.
Yeah.
Because it's got 3 shafts in it, and the rear output is held by a clip in the back. So it's like 53 horsepower it beats up.
Here's my hero chat of the day from Max Wedge Dick Dastardly. I rebuilt my 727 clutches and drums and seals in my bedroom. When I was a young single guy in my 20s, I cleaned an entire case in my dishwasher. Just pulled all the racks out. Well, the bottom rack was the only one that was left in there, and then just ran the thing. But it worked great. Came out looking brand new.
That's awesome.
Oh, Andrew Nelson says the Turbo 400 is 132 pounds without the converter.
Yep.
Well, I imagine it's probably all that converter it makes. Well, it's the same converter as a Turbo 350, so.
Yeah.
Huh. Here's something interesting that y'all may or may not know. I got an email about it the other day. There was a guy that was, it was a comment. Do you remember I did a video on the switch pitch Turbo 400? that I put in my Suburban. Okay. There was a guy says he has a turbo 400 switch pitch, but he can't find a converter. And I said, go find a switch pitch ST300, which is the 2-speed. It's actually the predecessor to the turbo 350, right? And I said, the converters are interchangeable. And the dude was like, I've thrown away at least 20 of those. I'm like, well, hey, go grab the converter. But I thought that was interesting that a lot of people don't know that they're interchangeable. Maybe that's something I should probably drill down on a bit. Get myself a switch pitch turbo. It's a switch pitch ST300, Super Turbine 300. There's no parts you can throw at them, but it does share a lot of the things that's across the Turbo 350 line. Like it has 4 bolts holding the tail shaft housing on. It's got the vacuum modulator on it. It uses the same converter. I wonder how hard it'd be to take all that stuff out of the switch pitch 350 or 300 and put it in a Turbo 350 with like a lockup converter, right? I don't know. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Andrew Nelson says, I stored a big block Chevy under my dorm room bed. Assembled the short block in my dorm room. How did you get it out? Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
I can tell you what, I wheeled a 318 through the walk-in door of my garage. It fit, not by much.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. I got a video of it. In fact, the 318 we did for Hayden, just Mopar Joe and I did for Hayden. I wheeled it out the walk-in door on my garage on the stand.
Oh, and it fits just barely, huh?
It fits.
Well, the stand, if you notice, you can kind of wiggle it at an angle and do like the Chinese puzzle and just like slide right through the door at an angle.
It didn't clear by much, but it did.
Yeah, Jamo's Hot Rod saying that my kitchen table was probably more magneto work than most people own.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that a bit.
I think that would be cool. Mine is not so much my kitchen table. When I was a kid, that's what my dad and I did it on. He showed me how to do them on the kitchen table, but I do a lot of quadrujets just on the table. But,
2 of them carried it out and dumped it in the trunk of his Impala. Yeah.
That's an impressive Impala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
That's a heavy
2
load.
of them carried that out. You know what that weighs?
Yeah.
That's
oh yeah, big block Chevy is not messing around.
No.
They bring the weight. So
My neighbor took the trunk lid off of his 82 Cavalier and had a big block Ford short block and a big block Chevy short block in the trunk. He
a
took
Cavalier,
off of an 82, 83 Cavalier, one of those square ones.
right? I'm surprised they didn't fold in half.
He had both a big block Chevy and big block Ford short block in the trunk at the same time.
Oh, man.
That's how he ever stopped it, because you know that the front end had to be laying exactly.
Well, Bottom Bulb Racing says Levi Backyard Performance going to do some much needed fab work on my 3rd gen. It has a big block Chevy. Also, they fab the headers also. So, I guess can you buy big block headers for a Camaro?
They're pretty expensive.
Oh, are they?
So yeah, we had to fix them up with some.
Well, if you guys haven't noticed, almost all the parts are going through the roof these days, and like headers are what used to be okay. And it's going to make some of the younger guys cry. I remember, and because it happens to me a lot too, because the older guys than me used to talk about when they would go buy a Holly carburetor for $75. But it used to be you'd walk into Western Auto and you could get a set of big block or small block Chevrolet headers for like $90, like blackjack headers. Yeah,
I knew that's what he said.
$69 for a small block Mopar, blackjack headers.
Yeah,
all
black-
day.
I think I paid $89 for the diamond coated blackjack.
Yes.
They were like white
They were full length and had really flimsy flanges,
Yes,
and
right.
really awful welds, but yes.
1/4 inch flanges.
well, the sad part is headers are like just average run of the mill headers are about $600.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap, what happened in the course of just a few years? I mean, okay, inflation, I get it, but you're looking at, let's say, even worst case, 20%, right? 20% of $150 is like $30.
600 bucks. Andy Woods were $600 per tube.
Well, yeah. See, I knew at what kind of pain Andy was going to have because I had done that before. My T-Bird, okay, well, I don't know if I ever told you the story about the headers. Okay, no one made a Cleveland 4-barrel head, like a header, to fit a Fox body T-Bird, right? The Mustang was like, there's a few of them. There was actually one manufacturer, which was Hedman headers. They were $675, I think is what they were. And then so I started looking around. Oh, well, I'm just going to get some custom ones made because they'll fit like a glove. So I called a couple places, and Cook's was the place I ended up at because I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and Cook's was about a 4-hour drive, I guess. And it was $2,500 then. And I'm like, American dollars, right? Like US dollars?
Pesos?
Yeah. I went out the next morning and bought a freaking welder. And I bought a set of the Hedmans, and I cut them all up and made them fit. And I still had less money in them. After I bought a welder, taught myself how to weld, bought all the gear, and cut them and welded them all and put them in place, I had less in them than $2,500.
Mexican spec, the labor rate may be high, but the reason that the headers are double in cost is because the cost of materials.
That's right.
The cost of
Oh, is
materials.
that what it is? The steel?
It sucks as a
It's
fabricator.
insane.
Yeah, I bet.
Talk to anybody that builds headers, like Levi, like Andrew Nelson in the chat. They can tell you
It's awful.
the cost of materials is terrible.
Stainless has went double or triple
Wow.
in 2 years.
Just go to Home Depot and go to the steel section and just look at what the cost of some of the angle iron is there at Home Depot. It's out of control.
So I tell you, there's a cheap workaround on a lot of this stuff, and people don't understand it because I guess maybe they just haven't run into it, or they're not resourceful enough to figure it out. But all right, so there was a guy asking me on my Buick channel about 300 headers, and they stopped making them years ago, probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. When Poston went out of business, I think that was the last carrier of 300 headers, long tubes, that is. And so a guy was asking about them, and I said, well, just go buy a set of like $100 Blackjack V6 Buick headers and cut the flange off and weld the flange to a 300 flange, because you can buy a 300 flange for not a lot of money. And they're like $150 for a flange. You buy a used set of headers, you get 3 tubes fabricated already, right? So then you just have to come up with a 4th tube. And it probably is not that hard, but I'll be damned if I pay $600 for a set of headers headers always fit like crap. They drag the ground. They blow gaskets out. They're meant for race cars and race cars only. And I'll use an exhaust manifold on anything street legal. But that's just me. So
I paid $100 for the ones on my Laguna off of eBay, and there was some Chinese kid that probably welded them. They were, I don't know why I bought them. They were bad. They did not fit very good at all.
do they seal up though?
Oh yeah, there's not a leak on it.
Oh, that's good. That's perfect. That's all I needed. It's just got to get exhaust gases from point A to point B, right?
It's RTV.
That's right.
Andrew Nelson says the last set of headers he built for a customer was $2,900 in materials.
Oh my God.
That's
It's
materials.
Well,
Yeah.
so I must be way behind because I got that one right there. Andrew saying that when a small block Chevy aluminum intake was $69.95, and it seemed unaffordable at that time. Recently, we bought a new Gen 5 LT intake for $600.
Yeah, that one's about 7 up. Come about 7 down. I saw that one go through.
Let's see. Last set of stainless steel headers. Yep. $2,900 in materials. Well, it sounds like it might be time to figure out how to make that mild steel work just as good.
Yeah.
Man. And I'm not opposed to, I'm one of those people that's like, oh, they're rusty. All right, I'll sandblast them. I'll spend like $100 and sandblast them, and then coat them really good in grill paint, and then wrap the crap out of them. So if it does start leaking, it's leaking underneath the wrapping. You can't hear it as bad.
I need to send Andrew Nelson the welding I did on my exhaust
There
this
you
week.
go.
He'll probably have a stroke. I'll show it to him tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I'll show it to him
dude,
Monday.
that thing is epic. That is totally epic.
I said, does it leak? He says, no. Is it bonded? Yes. That was a good one.
That's it.
Yep,
It's
that's
good.
right.
No one
That's all you need. That's all you need, man. That's it. That's the whole purpose of it. Right? Just like paint, when I say, remember I told you paint, it's only there to keep it from rusting. You don't even have to look nice.
Yeah.
But All right. Well, and we're definitely probably inspiring some young minds right now to do some totally hacked up crap. Okay, so Bear Rose Garage says, and 2 years ago I bought two 20-foot sticks of 2x4 120 wall steel for $80 a stick. Our shop cost now it's $170 per stick. Our cost.
There you go.
Steel prices are through the roof. Well, and you know what's I've noticed? Generally, steel prices would go along with scrap prices, but scrap is super down, and steel is way up. How is that possible? They're kind of linked together. I don't know. Maybe it's time to start smelting stuff in the United States again.
Michael Roberts, just trying to trade your 454 for 460 and be done with it. If you're not into Chevrolets.
Well, so Blaze Garage is saying that cast iron ram horn exhaust manifolds doubled in price in the past 2 years.
Wow. Dallas's goal in life is to go 250 miles an hour for $3.50. Let me tell you, if there's anybody who can go 250 miles an hour for $3.50, it's Dallas.
It won't last long, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, it'll make it 1,321 feet.
Well, that's doing better than some of them top fuel dragsters, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Michael Roberts says this is my first big block. It came with giant aluminum head, so I guess he probably won big time on this one because it sounds like he's the one that he's the Ford guy with the 454, right? Oh.
I like this all draft because it's some moron put tariffs on steel we don't produce here. How about the moron that cost us 3 times as much to get it where it needs to go?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Andrew Nelson says chromoly roll cage tubing is over $20 a foot.
Yeah, and, you know, we were doing the Lemons car. We were doing the roll cage in that, and I had a special order from S&W Race Cars, so we had to do all these measurements, and it took a while, right? Because we'd only meet up on Thursday and to do lemon stuff, and you'd only spend about 3 hours doing lemon stuff. And it really wasn't 3 hours because it'd be like an hour and a half in, somebody would crack open a cold one. And next thing you know, everybody's cracking open a cold one and we aren't measuring anything. So it took like 2 or 3 weeks for us to measure it. And as we're doing it, the price was literally going up as we're measuring the stuff. And I finally just that week that we got it done, I said, we got to finish it, guys, because it's went from $425 for this complete kit to $650, right? And like, oh, all right, we'll get it done. So we got it done. And thank God we did, because then it jumped to like $820, and then it just kept going up. But let's see, protectionism doesn't work if your corporation's already. I agree, buddy, but I think what we should have probably done is not outsourced everything. I hate these sellout companies, man. Cut you off at the knees. And if you're not a Gen Xer, sell out as somebody that sells everybody out for the sake of their own wallet. Let's see, Fab Race Mon Repeat. Most of the mills are shut down. A lot of that I've noticed is, I think a lot of it's EPA crap.
It is.
They've lumped so much stuff on top of these mills that they just can't maintain, right? But then they send it over to China, and the guy smelt it in his backyard. Using a dog skull, wearing flip flops, right? And there ain't EPA anything on it, but
EPA and
fine.
What Kevin says, rusty headers and a lot of valve overlap make scored up cylinders.
Sucks in the rust.
What
Is that what he's trying to say?
I don't know.
I need a lot of overlap for that.
That would be like a lot of overlap.
You have to have like a valve hanging open,
Yes.
literally, to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Mexican Spec says, I wonder what prices are here compared to over there. How much of the price is government intervention? I'd say a lot of it. I mean, just look at your gas prices. If you didn't have all that tax on top of gas, what would your gas price be? Just like cigarettes and alcohol and all the other fun stuff that's rolled into one. Let's see. Oh, Drag Boss is saying it's the company that buys them and parts out the company. Yeah, that's what do they call that? vulture capitalism, something like that.
Well, that's the crux of the movie Wall Street, 1987 movie Wall Street. So.
Well, I'm not going to get into all this political.
That's why I was
Let's
gonna
move
start
on.
just dumping it, but
See.
yeah.
Got a lot.
Yeah, well, it's not even tech talk, right? It's like PRI, live from PRI. So, did you guys meet anybody interesting today? Did you see John Force walk around talking Top Fuel?
No,
We met someone really
we
cool.
ran into John Schneider. He was there.
John Schneider was there.
Yes.
Did he charge you 15 grand to be there?
Nah.
Oh,
He didn't charge anything for autographs.
yeah.
I'm surprised John Schneider was there.
He's totally cool, man.
He's cool.
I know he's cool. I tried to get a hold of the guy, and I tried to get him to come to the No Name Nationals, and it was like lost in translation with his booking agent, which just so happens to be his wife. So I wasn't going to chew her butt because then he would never show up, right?
We'll get to that. But he was there. We talked to him.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Yeah, he signed an autograph for me and my kid, so it was pretty cool.
That is cool. I'm glad he's still down to earth. You
He's
know,
totally cool, man.
what would be really awesome? Did he show up like sideways slide the General Lee into the front doors of PRI and come across the hood?
He had a picture of the General Lee that would not fit in this room.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
he was in a blue jean like jacket with blue jeans and boots and like just had the look.
And he had an open can of Budweiser on the table right there.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wait,
It was,
I wonder whatever happened to him, but like his, you remember Luke Duke, which was Tom Wopat, right? I wonder whatever happened to him. Did they have a falling out? 'Cause I've never seen the two together.
No, he doesn't like touring on. I think he just doesn't relish the General Lee and Dukes of Hazzard stuff as much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he still talks about it, just not as much.
And John was young though. That was like the beginning of his career, I think.
Wendy, he's got about 300,000 subscribers, so he can certainly enter the No Name Nationals. And I'm going to ask him about that, so don't worry.
Well, so Andrew Nelson's got the list here. He says he talked with Brian Lowens, Ron Capps, Tony Stewart, and Leah Pritchett.
Yeah.
yeah.
Where the heck was Tony?
We talked to a
Stewart
couple
at?
of our favorite YouTubers.
Was that Top Fuel when he saw me?
Oh, who'd you see?
John Doc.
John Doc YouTube channel. That's one that I like to watch a lot. He was with Race Tech, their seats.
Okay. I know that. Oh man, what is Vice Grip? Derek was headed to PRI, so I don't know if anybody saw him today.
I didn't see him.
He's a tall dude, so you can't miss him.
Yeah.
We did see Kamikaze from Street Outlaws.
Oh yeah, we saw Kamikaze from Street Outlaws. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who Kamikaze was. Is he the one that had the El Camino?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Flip.
Yeah.
So I stopped watching about season 3, 4.
As soon as it went into
two.
like full
Yeah.
race car,
Yeah.
away from that.
When he broke out the Crow mod, I had exit stage left because it's like this no longer. This is going the way of Top Fuel. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's not Street Outlaws. It's Pro Mod Outlaws. Like
yeah. I just I gave up on it at that point. Like, all right, I want to do something else. There's a lot of things I could do instead of just sitting here in front of the TV.
Larry Jeffers' actual Pro Mod looked less like a race car than the Street Outlaw guys' street cars.
Huh.
Yeah, there's nothing street about that anymore. It's become a complete Pro Mod league.
Yeah. Well, and it's all with all you did was take a Pro mod, put blinkers on it, right?
Yeah.
About it.
About it.
When they started having open transmission tunnels and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, this is going away fast. It's going to be gone. And it literally was. It probably was season 3 or 2 or somewhere around there.
Yeah, they were sitting in the back seat. Once they were sitting in the back seat to drive, I was like, I'm over this.
Yeah. Well, it kind of remind me of the early days of Pro Mod. You know, like you had what Shafroff or not Shafroff. Robbie. Dang, the Soft Steel 57 Chevrolet and Animal Jim and Bill Coolman and all them guys. They were at the beginning of Pro Mod, and it probably took 10 years before they started running in the back seat.
I'm gonna get in my street car. Hang on, let me put on my fire jacket, get in,
Yeah.
put the steering wheel on.
That's
Okay, then I'm gonna hit my ignition. I'm gonna hit my fuel. Wait a minute, turn it on. I'm gonna put my window net up.
Don't
Let me get
back your
my
shit.
let me get my collar. Let me get my helmet on. Now I'm gonna drive to the grocery store. That's not
I
a street
forgot about putting the dry ice in your container.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's not a street car. Let's just not even.
Dallas, did you meet the soft seal guy? With the
I can't remember his Robbie Vandergrift. That's what it was.
He
This
races
was.
Edgewater in Ohio a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in the day.
Huh.
Before I was-
Edgewater used to be like a very premier. I want to say it was an IHRA track.
I think
and
it's
it-
been NHRA since the beginning. I don't know that for a fact, but
Maybe I don't know. I remember it being a premier track in I want to say it was Ohio.
they're trying to get back with NHRA to do big races there too. So I'm kind of excited about that being close to home.
What I thought would be cool is that track is it has the ambiance of being like a 1960s 50s track that's like literally like off the highway, right? And there's no big town near it. And I thought what would be really cool is if they just had like serious heads up brawls there where it's like instant green starts or grudge race. It's a great place to do it.
They do. Cincy Street Nights is what it is. They come in and do a race. I think it's once a month.
Huh.
And it's
What
heads
don't
up.
you guys up in that area? Don't you have like Dragway 42 and
No, that's further north.
oh, is it further north? Okay. It's up by Cleveland then.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Oh, Andrew Nelson says he saw the F Burger.
Really?
Yeah. So F Burger must be walking around.
He's got flip flops.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, he
There was
will.
only 2 of us in shorts, and I was one of them.
There were 2 people wearing shorts, 2 people wearing masks, and 1 person wearing sunglasses.
That was me.
You wearing sunglasses and flip flops?
No flip flops. I had Vans on though.
Oh,
Now you're wearing shorts. I'd have been too cold.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel anything from the legs down. I'm so used to wearing shorts in San Diego. It's just the way it is.
then you don't need cool pedals. Like if you don't need cool pedals in your car, then if you don't feel anything from the knee down.
I want to be able to feel on my foot, like I got some people I need to beat. So I want to make sure I have the correct pedals so I can beat them fair and square.
These pedals look like a cross between a transformer and a Swiss Army knife. Okay, they got all these little articulating parts to make the.
Oh wait, I think I've seen these
Right.
pedals like these before. Are they adjustable with
They have
pins?
adjustable pedals on the face of the earth.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Okay, they got pins in them, and then it has reservoirs on the pedal buckets themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I have seen those before.
They're out of Australia. The guys are out of Australia.
Oh, all right. Well, so Drag Boss is saying that 57 Chevy that Robbie Vandergrift had was badass. That yellow 57, that thing was so cool. I think the only thing that really trumped it was, oh man, Tony Christian had that 57 that looked like a 57.
He had
Right.
same jaws, and it was a real steel car. I was walking through the pits at Rockingham one time, and he had hurt the engine in that car, and he hollers at me to come help him get the crane out of his trailer and set up so he had a gantry there to pull the engine out of that 57 in the pits at Rockingham.
That's cool. And that's right. It was a full steel 57
It was a
Chevy.
real steel. It was a real steel and glass car, and it ran. The quickest he got it was in the 670s in the quarter.
Yeah, they ended up.
Steel
Well,
car.
that car, the first time I saw it run, I think it was like, might have been Fastest Street Car America Shootout, right? And then slowly it gravitated over towards Pro Mod. And then,
Steel
oh,
57 in the country.
what's that?
It was the quickest steel 57 in the country. 25
Probably
years
till
was.
when Jeff Lutz, well, was his a 57? I think it was a 57. Jeff Lutz is 57.
But see, that was the era, recently where it's steel roof and quarters, and they just took a skin and put a full chassis car. The one Tony Christian had was actually a 57 Chevy body.
Yes.
This thing had door jams and rockers.
Rockers, yeah, that's the big one. That's how you can tell when it was originally a car as it had the rockers.
Yes, they had built the chassis in it, but they had built the chassis in the 57 Chevy. I mean, things still had trunk structure, and all of that. I mean, it wasn't just a roof skin and quarters, so it fit a class.
Yeah, Andrew Nelson said he passed away earlier this year. I did not. I knew he did pass away. I thought it was last year though, but it didn't matter. That car was very pivotal in Pro Mod because it was probably the last steel car in the class, and it ran with them guys for quite a few years. But I want to say it had some like Gonzo 700 cubic inch motor in it with a bunch of nitrous on it for a long time.
It had a 649 inch rare Morrison big block, and I know that because 650 was the limit in that class for NMCA.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
We ran.
Yeah, and Andrew's saying that the Lutz OG57 was steel.
It was, but isn't that a later one where they just took? Well, I don't know on what Lutz did, but I'm saying now, like the 2810-5 is pretty much if you have a roof skin that a magnet will stick to, and you have quarter skins a magnet will stick to, they call it steel. Well, I mean, but that's not really a real
skin. That's a skin.
That's taking the skins and putting on a race car. It's,
Well, I've always kind of, me personally, have never dug that because it's literally that's what the pro stock guys were doing in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
You were buying a body in white, they'd cut the roof quarters off, and they would roof and quarter a tube chassis, and it would come right out of. Most of the time, they came out of the shops in St. Louis. Gosh, I can't remember all their names. There used to be about 4 or 5 of them down there in St. Louis, but that's where a lot of them are made at. But the steel roof and quarters, and it never really, especially when you started getting the fiberglass front ends and the Lexan and all that stuff, that's where they kind of started losing me in pro stock. And that was, let's see, probably 87, 88, 89, when it started getting really bad. If you notice, like if you go back, and I know everybody's going to hate me, especially drag bosses in here, and I have a T-Bird, but if you go back and look at Bob Glidden's Thunderbird from like 87, 88, that's where it started losing me. I mean, I was a big Bob fan, but man, that thing had a front end on it that was probably about 2 feet longer than a regular T-Bird. And that's because they stretched the nose so far to get the thing. It was already aero to begin with, but they stretched the nose and made it even more aero.
Well, Andrew Nelson is saying that he did have a steel car and confirms that some later ones were roof and quarters. They were skin. Like that latest version of whatever the Murder Nova was, where they just took a roof skin, they just took some quarters and basically threw the entire car away and built a new car and stuck a roof skin and quarters on it. And why they call that the OG Murder Nova, I have no idea.
Small tires gotten out of hand. It's just who's got the most money at
It's
this point.
ridiculous.
Oh, Drag Boss is out of here. So he says back to the ER. I don't know what he does, but hopefully he's okay.
He's a physician's assistant, I believe.
Oh, in an ER, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, best of luck, buddy.
Your own handoff. You're there to help somebody else.
Bear Rose Garage, when you get a chance, check out Hubby's Garage. He's actually restoring a Tri-5 Champion gasser. One heck of a cool project and piece of history. I will have to check it out. I like nostalgia stuff only because it's true, real hot rodderism. That's why I like that Sega 67 deal, where it's Sega Super Stock, where it's stuck in 1967. It's like, yeah, you could show up with your aluminum heads, but here's a huge weight penalty. It's better if you just have your cast iron junk on there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Well, Drag Boss, see you later, buddy. And thanks a lot. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Fab Race Mod Repeat. Yeah, Fab Race Mod Repeat says Bob Glidden took a bullet bird and made it a rocket ship. I thought he was going to say something cool like a bulleter bird, but it's even more bulleted. That thing was stretched out, and I didn't notice how bad it was until I went to when I was stationed down in Jacksonville. There's a place there called Harry Glass. Harry Glass used to make all the fiberglass parts for those pro stockers in the 80s. So if you had, like if let's say you're, oh gosh, I can't remember all these guys' names. Who used to run the yellow and white Levi Garrett Camaro?
Oh,
Man.
Was
No, Shepard had the rear Morrison car, but that yellow and white one, I can't remember. The whole front end,
The car. Yeah.
whole front end and doors was made there at Harry Glass. And so the molds are actually just sitting out back. And then through the early 90s, all the Top Fuel funny car bodies were made at Harry Glass. But now it's, I don't even know if Harry Glass is still open. I heard he passed away, and he did not look good when I saw him in 2014. Hey, so Mrs. Professor P saying, hey, Shane Cash says, I miss you, Daddy.
Hey, what's up, Cash? Yeah, I got a present for you, buddy. When we watched the Dukes of Hazzard, the guy who drives it, he signed something just for you, so you'll be stoked to see it.
Dude, you should get him some pedals.
See, you can't get who drives it.
Yeah.
Let's see, JMO's Hot Rod. We have a race group up here that is all old school nostalgia outlaw racing. I like nostalgia stuff. I do. I think it's back when racing was less convoluted with money.
Yeah.
Andrew Nelson, if you can tell me where that Glidden tribute car is, I'd like to go walk over and see
It's
it.
on your way.
Oh, it's with the Midwest Nostalgia Modifier, or the Midwest Nostalgia Pro Stock Association.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
In which Glidden car is it a tribute to?
Fairmont.
The Fairmont. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Fairmont.
Yep.
It's very.
Because I seen those guys were there today and they were setting up, and so I'm assuming that's the one he's talking about in the hallway, because they were right near the doorways between your big normal PRI, like say your PRI convention center area where it has all the vendors, and then if you go in the back, there's that Lucas Oil Stadium. There's like a doorway or a walkway between there. That's where those guys were set up a few years ago. But that Lucas Oil Stadium has all of the stacker trailers, and not to say that anybody here is going to go buy one, but it has all the neat haulers and stackers, and that's where all those guys are at for PRI.
Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen drove
Bruce
the
Allen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They priced me out of the trailer. I can't afford one of them. I asked.
Well, that's why you got the ramp truck, buddy. You don't even need one now. Now you got one license plate in it. It's
Fun fact about that: the ramp truck come from Bob Glidden's hometown.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, so that's what you should put paint on the side. I don't know if you ever watch Lord of the Rings, and they say one ring to rule them all. Well, you should have one truck to rule them all, right? So, I mean, that's exactly what you're building, right? So, I like all the doors and stuff. Ramp trucks, I've always loved them because that's literally what all the big names towed in on. When I was a kid, we used to go to this track in Illinois called Motion Raceway, and it was awesome because they would actually spend some money to book in these big names, and like every year, the weekend before Indy, you'd have everybody testing over there at Motion, and that's what they would haul in on would be like a ramp truck, right? And you're like, that is so badass. That's how stuff should be. And then it never evolved from there. Well, actually, it did. Olenek used to do some trucks that was like a box truck with a ramp bed inside the box.
Yeah.
And it was all wood, like teak wood. And I mean, it looked badass. It looked like like those Keith Craft boats on the inside of that truck. And then you'd have a race.
We should be able to swap motors or transmissions at the No Name Nationals in 2023, so we'll be all right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just don't bring anything that's going to break.
Got that too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, are you still running a Turbo 350 in that thing?
It's going to go 400 this year. So
Oh, okay, good. We should get a hold of the Nelsons. They got the 400s kind of ironed out, I thought. Oh, all right. So Nicholas R., I was talking about pro stock drag racing and not the not NASCAR. There was a Levi Garrett NASCAR car, which was Jeff Bodine, but I was talking about the yellow and white pro stock Camaro. I want to say it came out like in '82, which was I think the first year that
Bruce Allen, and then he moved over to the Rare Morrison team when Lee Shepard died.
Yeah, when Shepard died. Okay.
I'm going to put a shameful plug in here. Anarchy is freedom. Go check out my channel, Levi's Backyard Performance, if you want to see a ramp truck.
Yeah, well, and you're literally doing the whole deal. You got the truck cut in half right now, don't you?
Yep, it's an half, and hopefully Sunday we'll have it back together.
What, are you just trying to lengthen it?
No, with the truck that it came with, it didn't have a title or nothing. So
Oh,
with a
so you
title,
half of another truck on there.
Then they'll swap her.
Yep.
Dude, we should put a Buick big block in that, and then you'll be happy with your Ram truck.
it's got a 454 in it. I don't want to mess with it yet.
No, that's not the same. It's like having cheese dip versus real cheese, my friend.
Oh,
Jeez, Tip.
Yeah, when you're towing, there's only one engine you need to go to. Well, actually, technically, you could go to a Oldsmobile or Pontiac or a Cadillac as well, but the Buick almost falls in there and it uses the same springs as a small block Chevrolet. So,
I say a 440, but
of course you do. Fat race on repeat. Ram trucks are awesome. I would love to have a 47 to 52 cab over on an F450 chassis with a V10 and a 6-speed. Clint shot me an email that had just recently there was a Horde that got sold from like next door to him, right? Like right down the street.
Yep.
And there was 3 cab over Fords there that was on that list, or that I guess it was a web page for it. Must have had 20 pages of stuff the guy had, but it 3 cab overs. And I want to say only one of them was a Ford, I think. I think the other 2 were like international.
Yep. That Ford painted like a post office truck is the one I like.
What's that?
Like a red, white, and blue one painted like U.S. Postal Service or something. That was that Ford. That was a nice one.
Yeah, I wanted one of them bad, but he also had like a Ford F700. Anarchy is freedom. Hey, 454 is great. I agree. I'm just saying, if you're one of tow truck motor.
Well, there's the guy here earlier that they kept saying, like, it's such a bummer that he had a 454 instead of
I was giving him a hard time, actually, but the
better engine. I mean, brand loyalty aside.
I'll tell you right now, I had never had a big block Buick in a Suburban until I put one in there. And I think that's the only vehicle I've ever had that is comparative to my Power Stroke Ford diesel. And I love the thing. It is freaking, it'll melt tires, runs 1570s in the quarter with an 8-to-1 compression, and it runs on garbage gas. You can literally use the squeezings out of Usain Bolt socks, and the thing will run on it.
The good thing about a 454 at my house is I got about 6 or 7 that I can take parts off of.
Well, that helps out a lot when you have a bunch of parts motors. Let's see. And that's where you just go with what you got, right? Some guy was giving me crap the other day because I put them super tricks on that 63 Buick, and I'm like, it's not too vintage, but it's what I got. And he was like,
"You gonna do a video? Are you trying to wring the juice out of Usain Bolt socks? Are we gonna get to see that on your channel pretty soon?"
that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I'll see if I can get a hold of him and get one of those socks.
Of course, Professor P's right. 440 only. That's right.
440 only.
That's
Man.
the answer.
I'm telling you, I've seen 440's manifolds literally on fire coming out of the desert, coming out with the motorhome. Just everything melting. I'm watching the gaskets just burn away, and that thing still made it up the grade on Highway 8 coming out of the desert, towing all of our toys.
Oh, and that one's serious. That's a serious hill.
Yes.
And if you didn't know, okay, so there's a lot of people that are probably aware of the mountain ranges in Southern California, and you think of like, what's the one coming out of LA, the Grapevine? Going north to Bakersfield, and people talk about that sucker. That's nothing compared to 8, because 8 is probably like, I bet it's probably 8% grade or 10% grade.
Well, it starts below sea level at that point, because you actually see sea level on that tower there, which is, it's 100 feet below sea level, and then it goes all the way up to 4,000 foot, but you go against the wind, because remember, when you go up that grade, you come around that corner, and you have 70-mile-an-hour winds on your face, and you're already on 7% grade or 6% grade. It's massive.
Dude, that thing was, the first time I towed up that hill, I didn't even think nothing about it. I had my 98 GMC and a flatbed trailer with my T-Bird on the back, and I was like, this will be no big deal, because I had driven down it before. But man, going up that sucker was no joke.
Yeah.
And the switchbacks on it are tight. They also say, like, I want to say when you get on 8, it's a little town just outside of Phoenix. It's not Yuma. It's something else. It's another little town.
Well,
Is
there's
it Heath?
There's Ocotillo, and then there's El Centro.
I can't remember where that starts at, but it says on there like semi trucks are not recommended to take this route, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it says that like every 20 miles on the signs. Because the further you go west, the closer you are to that crazy grade. And then what's funny is like, as soon as you crest that grade, bang, you're in San Diego, and you're going down through San Diego at 100 miles an hour on a 4% grade.
Yeah, the whole way. Yeah, basically you can coast into it.
That has got to be one of the most hardcore things I've ever seen from Andrew Nelson. They moderated the line pressure in their transmission to protect the thrust bearings on the crankshaft.
Yeah.
So the fix for
Are you
that,
talking about just the thrust bearings in the transmission?
no, the back of the engine,
He's talking about his engine thrust. Oh, he
Yeah,
okay.
but
Yeah.
Wow.
at a certain horsepower level,
Man.
LSs are bad for that.
Yeah.
The fix is a dump valve
Dump
setup,
valve, exactly. Yeah, it'll blow the pressure off of it.
and
Huh.
that's what we're going with. So I've talked to several trans builders, and that's what they recommend. So
Oh, really? So that's just a common occurrence on Turbo 400? Is that the line pressure gets jacked too high when you're essentially boosting them up off the line?
supposedly that's the thing that happens. I'm not a trans guy, so I don't really know a whole lot about it, but
It balloons the converters. What's happening is it gets so hot so fast is that it pushes
Oh.
forward because it's
Yeah.
gaining 10 degrees every second that you're on the brake. So when you're coming up on thing, you gain 60 degrees.
Right, and that fluid's eating all the heat and it expands so fast.
That's right. And so it eats the thrust. And then everybody's running these flex plates that are really billet and they're rigid. So all that thrust goes right onto the thrust bearing. Back when flex plates actually flexed,
Flexed, yeah, so they wouldn't eat the thrust bearing.
that's correct. Now they're coming up on temperature so fast, they're just pushing right on that.
Well, so we got a tech question here, actually, surprisingly.
Wow.
Michael Roberts says, would a supercharged 383 stroker small block Chevy blow up a GM 10-bolt rear end, considering upgrading to a Turbo 400 or a Turbo 350 trans? All right.
Define supercharged. Is this going to be like a root style blower? Is this?
Well, and there also is this I was going to throw out there. The GM 10-bolt is kind of an elusive term because they have a GM 10-bolt, which is your corporate 8.5, and then you got garbage, which would be your 8.2 and your 7.5, right? And they're considered a 10-bolt because you count the cover bolts and there's 10 bolts, and you go look at the ring gear and there's 10 bolts. But they are literally okay. So a 7.5 GM used to come in a G body and an S10 pickup. I was running a stock 350 Buick with a 2-barrel in the 90s and would twist those 7.5 axles off of the housing. That's how garbage those things are. They are a piece of crap. So if you're talking 10 bolt, I doubt your 383 supercharger to do anything to it. If you're talking 7.5, run around with a dustpan and a foxtail in your trunk. And that's the only way I can put it. They're garbage.
the 400 or 350, to me, anything under 600 horsepower, a 350 would just work just perfect.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah,
That just
Turbo
like
350 eats up so much less power.
Yeah.
Shane and I were talking about that. There's so much ET to be had and horsepower on the butt dyno with the Turbo 350 versus that Turbo 400.
it's about on a 727 to a 904. I can relate it. It's half a second in a quarter mile. We just changing transmissions. It's half a second.
Let's see here. Tom Brown is saying, "Holy cow! I'm actually here. Howdy from Colorado. Actually still working, but have a little time to listen for a while." Well, we don't normally do it on Thursdays, and we don't normally do it from 6 to 8. But today was special. It's the first day that the group from No Name Nationals was at PRI, and they were going to give us the lowdown. I was supposed to be there in the room with them, having a good time. I would probably be the guy that drank too much, laying right in the floor next to the couch. But
The only one drinking.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're the only one drinking.
Yeah. Let's see. So you're not missing out on much. Now I'm here because I got 2 sick kids, and then maybe I'm going to go up tomorrow. I'm planning on it. I can't guarantee anything because I don't know what my kids are going to do when they wake up, but I'm assuming they seem like they're cool. They had stayed at school all day and I didn't have to go pick them up. So that's a big plus. Let's see. Bear Rose Garage. That's actually why people around here don't like Holly cars. They don't like the mountain passes to get in and out of here. Oh, Hollies are one that's really finicky with the fuel like that, with the altitude change.
I didn't really have a problem with them because it's got a power valve on it, so basically it's on pressure drop. So I never.
Yeah.
I had a 2-barrel on mine when I would go from Yuma back to San Diego. I still had 2-barrel on that 350 on my Slant 6. That range is fine, and that's below sea level to 4,000. So.
Well, Andrew Nelson says no. We're talking about the charge pressure. So he's talking about he was modulating line pressure, right?
It's got to be, yeah.
So those guys are way ahead of me on Turbo 400. I'm like one of those guys that could literally take the parts out and put them back in order sometimes, and it might work. Let's see. But I also have a philosophy on transmissions. If you've never done one and you want to do a transmission and you're like, oh, I don't know. All right, look at it like this. Go to your local transmission shop and look at the guy that's building your transmission. If the dude has less teeth than you have oral hygiene figured out compared to that dude. Go build your transmission, right? But
that's a good one, man. That's that way, yeah.
Max Wedge Dick Dashley says MTI converter made the crank eat the thrust bearing and rear seal plate on my buddy's Max Wedge.
That's why I do with transmissions. I got all my teeth. Related to them now.
Well, now wait a second. Now on Mopars, there's some if you're running like say an aftermarket crank, and because their thrust bearings in the center, so if you're running like say a high RPM type of deal and you're not running a good crank that's got center counterweights on it, it's going to eat out the center bearing anyways. If you get over 800 or 750 horsepower, it will eventually eat out that center crank bearing. I know this. I worked with a lot of the guys from Hughes Engines, Dave Hughes. They had a few engines that they had built, and when I was at Crower, I actually sold them a couple crankshafts, and I told them that this is going to solve their problem. He didn't believe me, and he called me back and told me it was. All it was just the crankshaft is what was eating those after a certain RPM and a certain horsepower, because they just start flexing, they start walking, they take out the thrust bearing.
Huh.
What was your line pressure, Andrew?
So I was just going to bring this one up. So Andrew's saying that the line pressures and charge pressures are related differently. The dump valves are used on the charge pressure circuit. What? So we got the Dougster and the Danster, and both of them like to say, don't fear, the Danster or Dougster is here. Anarchy is freedom is saying, yep, 7.5s are junk, junk, junk. I know. I agree with you 100%. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was a 7.625 that you could find in like that's what came in the, I believe the 7.5 is what came in like the Vegas and the Monzas. And then you went up one and it was like 7.625 in like the 82 Gen 3 Camaros. Let's see. Fab Mod Race Repeat can't take me anywhere. So.
You're a little behind.
I am. I'm trying to catch up right now. So Tom Brown's, I've had many nights when I was younger that I had to sleep in the tub. So, yeah, no longer just the passed out guy in the hallway. I might make it to the tub. Yeah, well, Danny Boyd's saying a little messier to change jets in a Holly. And I find that I've never owned a Holly until I got this one in the super stock motor, and it's like a cakewalk compared to the Quadrajet. I don't have to take carburetor off the intake manifold.
I prefer the Holly because you can just dump the fuel and pour it right back into the tank.
That's exactly how I was doing on the start stand. Is you pull the bottom bolt out and it just drains right into a cup and pour it right in the fuel.
Yeah.
Let's see. 8.5-inch 10 bolts are fairly strong. A set of axles and a spool are a good aftermarket carrier. They'll take 500 to 550 horsepower. That used to be the ticket. If you had like a a Regal and you wanted to run a big block Buick in it, they would eat them 7.5 inches probably with the starter motor. And you used to put the Grand National 8.5 inch in there. And they'd take a serious beating in a Regal for a long time before they'd give up the ghost. Anarchy's Freedom says, I don't have any teeth and I'll build the entire freaking car. Well, I was just making a comparison. That was my story. When I first built my transmission, the very first one I did, I took it to a transmission shop. It was a 204R, and they were notoriously high anyway to be rebuilt. And I took it to the shop. I was out in Hawaii, and everything out there was expensive. And I dropped it off, and the guy's like, it's $1,200. I said, $1,200? I took it out of the dang car, right? I mean, it's sitting here in front of you. You can take it apart in 20 minutes in the bed of my truck. And the guy's like, yeah, $1,200. And he said, you don't believe me? We'll go talk to the training builder. And we went back there. And I mean, this dude was like, hey, Tom, or whatever his name was, it's like, drop the crack pipe, turn around. Oh, what's up? Hey, how much to rebuild a 204R? And this dude literally had no teeth. And I'm like, oh, dude, I got you covered. Right. And I'm going to go home and buy a book and a transmission rebuild kit for a 204R. I can do this. But he told me $1,200. So I did it for $275.
I gotta make fun of them. They're calling me fast then.
Fab Race Mod Repeat says Shane's 100% on the B block thrust bearing issues.
Yep. I know. I've worked with them.
That's one thing I never looked on the Mopar.
Really?
Ever.
Man. Well, you'll change.
Just take everything.
Don't
I worked
do
on
it.
Ford and
Don't
Chevy.
do it. It'll change everything.
Well, Tom Brown says, what's my take on using block rules on the small
Girdles.
Buicks?
Girdles.
Block hurdles.
It
Oh,
correct-
girdles? I don't think they need them. The small block Buick, in my opinion, from what I've read, in my opinion, is the strongest Buick engine made. Okay, the deep skirted FE style block is essentially what the LS ended up being made off of, right? Because they took the stage 2 V6 Buick and converted it to V8 form, and then you end up voila LS. That's why you got the 5.3 has the same bore and the same stroke as a stage 2 V6 Buick. The what I'm looking at though is that block is so dang rigid. The last thing I've had some that didn't do any oiling mods and raced the crap out of them, and the bearings would still be fine, right? And that tells me that the block is not moving around. The crank is not flexing in it. And your inadequate oil pressure issue didn't seem to have any effect on how it did on the bearings. So I think the small block Buick would not benefit from a girdle at all. I don't think there is any reason for it. And if you look at the later Rover engines, all they did was re-drill the same main caps to put 4-bolt mains, and then they drilled them from the side, put cross bolts in them. And I think you could do the same thing to a 350 Buick.
You know what? We saw a Ford Godzilla today. It's the first one I've seen. You know what it is? It's an LS.
Is it really?
That's what it is.
It's in the machinery area, and it was on one of those.
It is a shameless copy of an LS.
Is it really a copy of an LS engine?
It almost looks like you could unbolt the front cover and stick it on an LS. The intake ports are shaped a little different, but I mean the rocker gear, it's an LS. It's a Ford.
So they literally like Ford, the engineer's walking out from behind the curtain. Look at the engine we just built, and he's like taking the Chevrolet valve covers off, right? Like,
But it's a lot bigger though.
it is, and I'll
I'll
tell you something low down that I saw.
More space.
And Pulido might have to cover his ears. Pulido took me on a tour of comp one day, and they had a 7.3, and they were running it on that. What's that dyno thing, Shane? It's not a dyno. It's like a Spintron. Is it a Spintron in the back?
Yeah, that one wasn't the Spintron. That was actually on the dyno.
Was it the dyno?
Yeah, that was on the dyno.
That thing sounded so freaking wicked. It really did. It revved so fast and hard, And then they had another one there taken apart on an engine stand. And I was looking at it, and it's like it had a roller timing chain, but it had like really small rollers on it, and it was only a single row, right? And I'm like, what the hell would you put a single roller dinky row? And Shane's like, because it's less reciprocating mass, right? There's more going to the back. And I'm like, wow, I did not think of that at all, because a double roller is double redundant. That's the point of it, right?
They say not to go with a double roller on ALS stuff.
Well, the Buicks, the V8s are the same problem. If you run a double roller on a Buick V8, which I'm telling you right now, that LS is a direct copy of the 300. If you run a double roller on it, it'll eat the fuel pump off the motor. It'll just cut right through it because they don't have clearance for it usually. It's one of the oddest. They don't have any room up there because everything's so close and tight together, because you threw the oil pump in there and the distributors up there, and all that stuff is all in one place. There's just very little room for it to go.
Yeah, the one thing that the Godzilla's got that I haven't seen in any other engine is the oil pump. It's actually got a variable pressure oil pump on it, so it can actually dump pressure. So
Really?
yeah. So it's got a solenoid that can control it. So if you're cruising down the road, it doesn't need a lot of oil pressure, even though the pump's coming off the crank. It will basically take it down and dump the oil pressure. So that way it's super.
It's less parasitic loss at low RPM.
You got it.
Oh man, that's freaking genius. All they did was just like refine the LS engine then.
Yeah, and it runs on a little chain. It's got a little pump chain that runs on it. It's got a little goes on the back, and the pump's in the back. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's like a single stage pump that you would run externally on a stock car, but it's inside the timing cover?
Yeah, and I think they did that too because it would make it really easy to make it a dry sump system then at that point.
I bet that's probably right. So if you wanted to race it. Andrew Nelson says we're at 170 to 175 pounds. We need to get the line pressure up to 210. Still have a stock case. Aftermarket cases can run 300 PSI. The fast guys use aftermarket cases.
He's calling me fast then.
Man, I'll tell you what, if you want to do something cool, Levi, look around and see if you can find yourself a switch pitch turbo 400. And then you know how you can make a 400 to a 2-speed, and the LS turbos love the 2-speed because it lugs the crap out of them, making that turbo spool up and force more air in.
Yeah.
Build a 2-speed turbo 400 with a switch pitch. I think that thing would be badass in a turbo application. And you can use factories. Well, I don't know if you can use factory. Well, probably where you're at, you can probably use factory parts because I don't think you're up over 800 horse, are you?
Not yet. This year, though.
I'll bet you can score a turbo 400. Like
the 2-speed valve body is $7,500.
What?
Yeah, we priced it out.
Well,
you get a full 2-speed 400 built by Reed or FTI. I can't remember. It was $14,000 shipped to my door.
Hey, look to your left. You see that guy on your left? That's the guy you need to talk to. Yeah, that is not the price it's going to be if you talk to Mr. Pulido. I'm sure TCI can hook you up. But I would switch pitch a turbo 400, make it a 2-speed. I would boost the crap out of that thing. But, all right. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly, stock crank, 8 runs on car, new engine transmission converter was messed up. Converter would get stuck in the transmission, had to pry it out, had to send it back to MTI. You know, it sounds like I had an AMD transmission that was it bent that pencil shaft in the center when it went into lockup at like, I don't know, 5,800 on a whole bunch of nitrous. And it locked it up, but man, did it twist that pencil shaft, and you could not get that out of the converter. I'm kind of wondering if it's something weird like that has happened.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I had to pry it off, man. Jesus.
So Andrew Nelson says that the 7.3 Godzilla has a lot of details similar to the Gen 3 Hemi. And I didn't see the Gen 3-ish, but I saw a lot of the LS stuff in it. But I did not see I didn't really pay that much attention to it where I started comparing stuff, but John's right. The timing cover is very LS-ish.
Yeah, and the rocker arms and the heads. So, I don't know. Maybe the top of the block could be Gen 3 because it doesn't have an open block. I don't know. I'd say more. It's for me. It looks more LS. I'm kind of a Gen 3 heavy guy. It's a little different. It's
Man,
more
they
LS.
should have made that bottom end like similar to an LS and the top end Cleveland. That's what they should have done.
Slow it down.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Fab Race Mod Repeat. Cam companies need to do more for the 6.2 Ford. I thought that one was going to be the next big one, right? 6.2 Ford, but I only saw it in a couple of race cars that Ford was like fully sponsoring and testing the engine out, and it never went anywhere from there.
Yeah.
That was also about the time that the 5.0 Mustang magazine and Muscle Mustang and Fast Forward kind of just died off. Let's see. Andrew Nelson. Many modern V8s have the oil pump that are modulated. The Gen 5 GM engines have had that since 2014. All right. Well, David James is saying, "Hey, John, wake up. If you're tired."
No, I'm checking the comments on the YouTube side right here because I'm watching StreamYard right now.
Oh well, I was kind of wondering. Everything's kind of slowing down. Should we just kind of? We didn't really have anything super planned for this. I mean, we're going to do 6 to 8, but
The comments are going slow, but I mean,
right.
you
There is 6
grab them
people.
when they come in, they'll pick up.
What's that?
They can speed back up.
Well, do you want me to start talking about ringing out Usain Bolt socks into the?
Yeah.
I will plug something real quick though. Our friends Buff and Ray, it's going to be on Punisher. Let's see, it's going to be on Buff's Garage channel. He's got Junkyard Digs live on his channel here coming up at the end.
Top of the hour.
Yeah, top of the hour. I can't think because it's Indiana and there's the daylight savings time and the central time and there's whatever Indiana does. So all I know is it's the top of this hour, whatever this is.
Yeah, it's coming up 8 o'clock Central Time. Buff and Punisher Le Mans are going to have on the Pontiac Power Hour Junkyard Digs. So make sure when you're done here, you go over there and get your eyeballs full of some Junkyard Digs and the Junkyard Mook and Buff and Punisher Le Mans.
Yeah. Buff, the fellow at the No Name Nationals that made his victory lap in the pits in his 63 Grand Prix, and Ray Punisher Le Mans, who won the People's Choice with his.
That he did.
Quicker than I thought it was going to be Le Mans. That thing runs in the mid-6s. That's a stout car.
Yeah, and it sounded good too, though. It sounded really good. That thing wound up pretty fast, but it was a full tilt ALS piece, right?
Turbo, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tom Brown, Shane, have you done any or have any videos of doing any oil windage modifications on the Slant Daily?
I just have the oil pan where basically we cut out one of the parts of the oil pan, you can weld it into another one, so that way it doesn't transfer all the oil back. But other than that, I'm not really RPMing them crazy, so I don't see any point of it personally. But I'm just doing the oil pan modifications, so when you accelerate, it just doesn't go all the way back to number 5 and 6. It's on there.
David James wants to know what's Shane's tech tip of the week.
You have to wait for next week on that one because I didn't bring it with me.
He did. He just said it at the beginning of the show. DLC lifter is now available from Comp Cams. No braking required for a flat tappet cam.
Yeah, there you go. But
Diamond like Cody.
I actually have something, and I was going to do it today, but I was just like, oh, we're going to go to PRI, so I left it at home. But I do have something for next week. It's a really good one too.
All right. Well, Buff says he's out. He's going over to get ready for Pontiac Power Hour. Catch you all later. See you later, Buff. I hope the show goes good. I gotta finish printing out pamphlets. And then pack up and then go to Indianapolis. All right. So Max Wedge Dick Dastardly. We put his old converter back in. Worked fine then. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to damage wouldn't it damage the thrust? Isn't that what the problem was?
He said damage the thrust, so yeah, I would assume so, but I don't know.
Huh.
Can only go by what's on the comments. So
yeah. And Buff saying it's 8 p.m. Central. That's correct. It's 8 p.m. top of the hour, 8 p.m. Central Time. Go over to Buff's channel and check out the Pontiac Power Hour with him and Punisher Lamont.
David James is saying that they make 440 coated lifters.
We're going to make them for all lifters eventually. So they're going to be for 842s and 904 style lifters. But yes.
Well, Buff's saying next week they got dudes with wrenches. Pulido, we need to get hot on getting some guests on here, man. So that we can have I mean, how do they get these
performance and cleanse straight machines on here right now?
Yeah.
Well,
People talking about.
sure.
Yeah, I'm a guest on this show tonight.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You know what? And I'm overlooking it completely because we had Riley on there like the second week, and now we've been spoiled ever since.
Since everybody else is plugging their guests, I've got guests coming up too. I've got Travis Bell of Celebrity Machines on tomorrow night, and I've got 2 big guests coming up in the near future. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, well,
Because
who do
now
you have
we're
as guests
watching
coming up? Annette?
The wifey, girlfriend?
Oh, I was going to say, I wonder where you went. I
Yes,
wonder if
she's
you
down. We got
checked
another
out.
guest down here.
She's under the Levi Backyard Performance banner. That's part of Levi's channels.
What, Clint? You got to get anything coming up pretty cool soon?
I've started mocking up the front end, put my engine on a cart so I can wheel it in and out to figure out where to cut my firewall and floor and all that. I'm going to set up the transmission next. Maybe someday I'll get an adapter. But until then, I'm going to build another cart for that, and then I'm building some little mock-up cars for the front suspension too. So hopefully I can start pulling all that together, see where everything's got to go, and get moving on this damn thing.
Well, once you and I are done with this busyness, I need to get you over to my place, and we're going to work together on on this hood.
Yeah.
Get these holes patched up and hood ready for a scoop, and paint it with. I'm not going to rattle can it. I'll probably buy a can of white. How dare I spend money on this thing? All right.
Do you own a roller?
What's that?
You own a roller and a paint tray? Or?
No. I think we're gonna paint the Lemons car with a roller and a paint tray, but I'm really considering to paint the whole top half of this 63 Buick just to get rid of 90% of the screwed up stuff and just paint the whole entire thing from the hood, the top of the fenders, all the way up white, right? And then try to save the gold if I can.
Yeah, that probably work.
Yeah, I think so. Well, hey, Fab Race Mod Repeat has a pretty good opinion of John Wilburn. I have Mr. Wilburn on there. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
Oh, look at you.
I'm the reason you have that terrible job coming into your shop, that 8 3/4 from a truck. You can thank me for that mess.
Well, and he was like, "Am I doing the whole thing, or are we just fabbing the rear end?" I'm like, "Hey, man, whatever you want to do, because I'm gonna have to do the whole rear end anyway." So, do you have a hogshead, John? You have a 489 case, like 513 or 486 gear?
Maybe, yeah. I've got some different stuff on the shelf.
Any of them that you're gonna sell?
Really like what's in the back of the Dart Sport right now, but see, the thing is that probably had some sorcerers setting that one up, so it's probably not anything you want to run. That's I've got a 456, but it's on a heavy old factory posi. I've got a set of 557s that aren't in the case, so
what's your case? 489,
I've
742?
got several different ones.
No, what's your favorite case? Which
My
one?
favorite case,
Out of the two.
probably a 489. Oh, it's real. I could flip a coin. I could
Yeah.
do either one.
I'm a
But get rid of the
742.
crush sleeve. Get rid of the crush sleeve.
Yeah,
for the
okay.
489, Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's a 742. I just like the 742 because it's got the step on there, so setting them up are really easy.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, Max Wedge Dick Dashley says engine was fixed first, then put the old converter back in. Okay, so that makes sense now. I was like, wow, I thought the thrust was gone. So Andrew Nelson saying the 7.3 has the ejector boss in the head. It's a great design. And of course, the LS had it in the intake manifold. So
Aren't the new the new generation of the LT engines for GM, aren't those direct injection too?
that's what I was just going to say there. I think they're all direct injected, aren't they? Is this 7.3 not direct injected? It's port injected?
I don't think it's direct injector. I think it's got a.
I
I can't remember. I've had it looked at it 100 times and I can't even think of it right now. But because I was looking at other things. So I don't know.
Jason's garage is going to say he's going to break his 7.5 first thing.
But Bureau's Garage says, I just hope that Ford allows Chevy's success or follows Chevy's success and realizes everything for the Godzilla to the aftermarket instead of holding it all for decades like they normally do. I'm assuming they're probably going to go with the latter plan because that seems to be the normal Ford thing, where it's only available for Ford Motorsport, and then they hold on to it. I remember buying stuff for 5-liter Mustang, those when it was only available from Ford Motorsport, right? And it was like, God, pulling teeth trying to get the stuff at the dealership. You know, oh, I want to order a set of GT40P heads. Oh no, you got to buy a complete Explorer long block. Like, dude, it shows right here in the magazine. Here's the part number, right? It was tough way back in the day. I wish they would get rid of that, but they also had Cleveland stuff available, like A3 Cleveland stuff still. But Tom Brown says, I'd love to see the owner of TA Performance as a guest one week. Mike Tomaszewski, yeah, I might be able to do that. I don't know. I've talked to him a few times on the phone. He's usually interested in what I'm doing because I'm doing stuff that everybody doesn't normally do. But other than that, I wouldn't say that he might go out of his way. And if I was on fire, he may put me out.
David James, we were just talking about that. What's the best 8.75?
Depends. So for me,
Toss-up between them.
well, here's the thing: is that Chrysler made an aluminum one, right? Which one did they make an aluminum one of?
Gosh, that I don't know.
742.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 742. I actually have one. So the difference is like you were saying, is the crush sleeve. Now you can actually get a spacer with shims, and it eliminates that. So technically, it'd be the bigger one. But the 742 has got a step in it. It actually has a bigger rear bearing, but doesn't have a bigger front bearing. So it's I personally just, since it was easier and it's stronger at the time because I had to deal with junk parts. 742, I could basically use the same stuff because it was just shims, and I could set the pinion and on it, and then crank it down and call it good. But with the 489, I had to buy a crush sleeve eliminator with shims, and then once you used it, it was over with. So that's why I went that way. For me, I think the 742 is just my personal opinion.
And remember, the 741 has the smallest pinion of the three,
Yep.
which is still the same size as a 9-inch Ford pinion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing weak about any of them.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
all-
well, the 741. You guys told me this because that's what's in the rear end I got is a 741. But you're like, yeah, it's a paperweight. They're not
if
good.
you're drag racing it, look, if you're drag racing it, get a 742 or a 489.
Yeah, either one. Yeah, but the only reason why the 741 is there's not a lot of parts aftermarket for it. You got to find old stuff.
Exactly.
You can buy the 742 and the 489, new parts, new gears, new stuff. But a 741, basically, it is what it is.
I doubt you can get
Oh.
the gear.
Well, I was talking to Fab Race Mod Repeat's going to build the rear end, right? And we're going to do a collaboration on it, and hopefully it works out good. He was talking to me about it, and I said, I wonder if you can buy an entire freaking hogshead. He's like, yeah, you can buy them from Moser. It has everything set up and all ready to go.
All day.
All day. And he's saying right there the 742 is the aluminum case. That's what's in my 66 Dart is I have a 742 aluminum case that's going to come out, and that's going to go in my Desert Dart. Is I'm going to put that aluminum case in my Desert Dart to cut down.
What's that?
Yeah.
Says we're old. What year did they make that?
That was back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
It was back in the 90s. And I got it in like 2000. It was like a new old stock sitting on a shelf, and I got it. They were selling for like, $1,200, and then they jacked up to 2,000. So.
Cool. Well, I don't know about. I'm probably going to be going with the cast iron piece, just based on I know what my budget is, and it's like nil. I'm always at the. Why I always seem to be the guy that spends no money on his car stuff. Why is that? And everybody gives me crap about it, and I don't know.
Boy, these guys got a transmission for you, Dallas. $20,000 6-speed.
Yeah. Sequential 6-speed up and down.
Well, I won't be springing for one of those.
I think I'd buy a Liberty over that one. First, that's just my
No, you
opinion.
get two of them. It's still cheaper.
Yeah.
You get two of them.
Well, man. I wonder if I can get a trip from a Coyote down to Mexico for less than 20 grand. So, let's see. Jason's Garage saying that Coyote engines are hybrid injected, direct, and port. And then Andrew Nelson was saying that the supercharged GMs are that same way.
Yeah.
They're direct injected.
Yeah, 13.
Let's see. Andrew Nelson says the 6.8 that Ford is installing is based off of the 7.3. It should be the best of all worlds. It has all the 7.3 positives with a shorter stroke. What is the stroke and bore on that 7.3?
I don't know off the top of my head. I really don't.
We talking about the Godzilla?
Yes, yeah. But I do know the 6.8. That's what they were going to put into the to the Mustang was going to be the same bore, but just a different stroke. So yeah, I heard that same thing.
The bore is 4.22,
Yeah, it's big.
and the
Oh, it's a
stroke
big bore.
is 3.976, long stroke too.
Oh man, hey, that born stroke, it sounds very close to like 4.312 and 3.95.
That's nice. It's over square, huge
Yeah.
bore, long stroke, but not too long.
And it's also
Yeah.
got a high deck height too, you know, so it's not crazy whistle rod length on that thing too.
Man, that sounds very 455 Buick-ish.
And it's got a forged piston, forged rods, and a forged crank right out of the box. So they designed it for boosting.
It's 10.5 to 1 compression with aluminum heads. Looks like power output here, depending on application, I guess, is between 300 and 430. Torque between 425 and 475. I guess these are different applications. Or something.
Yeah, it's different trucks. You know, we did a cam in one, and it made like 600 horsepower. So just
Wow. Just a can.
just a cam.
Well, Fabrice Mod Repeat says I'm going to burn $1.50 of the $3.40 budget on paint, and then $200 on the rear end. So, let's see. Andrew Nelson. While at PRI, make sure you check out TubeWorks display. They have a dial indicator on a strange case and show you how much the cases flex.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's a
That
good.
sounds kind of cool. Huh.
They had a guy with dial indicator. That guy there had a surface finish
Yeah,
machine. That was really cool. Basically, he had a lathe there that would put an incredible finish on a part. More I've ever seen a lathe do.
yeah, and it takes a ball and it uses force from the ball with hydraulic, and it gives you your surface finish, and so it's amazing how good it comes out.
And it will work at a really high rock roller too.
Yes.
Surprisingly.
Huh. So it's just hydraulically forcing it
Yes.
to have a nicer surface?
Yeah, and it's got a little piston in it too, so it can move on different surfaces as it goes around. So it's not just in one fixed area. It'll actually create the same surface as it rolls around on different areas.
It's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Seems to me like you can make your
Did you guys go into the machinery area? Because the back room is normally like that's where like sun and boring machines and stuff are at.
got video from there today. In fact.
Yeah.
There's some neat stuff there. They had a Rottler power oven on display, and
Yeah.
it was some neat stuff.
Dude, you guys get like a mannequin arm and then just go in there and be like, and throw it on the ground, right? And,
I love the delay reaction.
We saw a power home, man. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a power home. Off camera, we'll talk about it.
okay. I'm sure it sounds like it could be fun.
I think a good short YouTube short for I'll post.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up. We got about 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of interesting because this is the first time we've done a live that wasn't necessarily centered around the Tech Talk live. It was more or less like kind of what's going on and hanging out and having fun. Some of the Tech Talk lives turn into that because you don't get any tech questions, but most of the time we try to steer it towards tech stuff. So
Sure. Well, talk a lot of tech, but it's stuff we saw, PRI and different stuff. So
Yeah.
Well, was there anything that stood out above all that's the best thing that you've seen at PRI?
Pedals, and I'm going to be getting, I'm telling you, the pedals are awesome. And the plexiglass for my windshield and my back windshield.
yeah.
Yes.
that was neat.
Yeah, there's a company was it Atron Brown? Is that his name, right? when he crashed in his top fuel trucks?
yeah.
Antron Brown, right?
Yeah.
He crashed, and they had his cockpit there, and he makes these custom, glass. You take your glass out, you put this in it, and it's super light and it's super strong, and that might be the and you can actually run wiper blades on it. It doesn't scratch. So I'm gonna.
I seen that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Dang it! Did they have the display where they has like the steel wool for on the wiper blades, and they're running it and it doesn't scratch that window?
They didn't have that, but they had one where he was hitting it with hammers.
Oh, well, it's probably the same guy.
Yeah.
But I was impressed because it was like a Lexan, and they were running steel wool like a Brillo pad on windshield wipers, right? And you're like thinking, oh God, it's gonna freaking chew right through that. No, it ran the entire PRI. Didn't even scuff the thing up.
You've got to know that Professor P is one of us. He goes up to these guys who make polycarbonate canopies for top fuelers. Hey man, you got that for a '68 Dodge Dart with the stone solid face, and they're like, oh, well,
For real, that really happened.
yes,
And then I asked, I want the back glass too.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we have it for a 2022 American chassis top fueler.
His S10 truck they got it for.
Yeah.
But if
Really?
I send him my trim, the chrome trim, they'll make one for it. And then for the rear one, I actually have the glass for it. So he says, oh, that's no problem. You just drive up and he'll make it while you go and have lunch.
You don't have an extra.
But dude, you should have asked me if he had something a little less obscure, like 63 Buick Special.
Yes.
You know what? I would try that, but a 68 Dart seems to be hard enough. So that would be really out there.
Yeah, I looked. I got to replace the windshield in this Special, and you wouldn't believe I found the replacement windshield. It was $400.
Ooh.
It's like, wow, for glass, man, I might make that thing out of Saran wrap. And so, oh man, God, $600 or $400 for a windshield. But what is the world coming to?
Have a window for him.
He didn't.
He said, I bet you'll be broke. And he goes and looks at his book and he's like, nope, I'm broke today.
All right.
Well, Michael Roberts says thanks for the advice tonight. Good night, gentlemen. We're out of here, so tune in next week. We'll be back at a regular time, regular place, regular bat channel, doing the Wednesday night Tech Talk Live. And Mr. Pulido will try to bring you a turkey neck. Other than that, I think that's about it. Head over to Buff's channel and check out the Pontiac Power Hour.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Fun show.
We got just a minute or two left, but I guess we're going to end it a little early, so we're out of here. Everyone have a nice weekend.
Less 50 cents there.
What's that?
You're getting taxed at less 50 cents. There goes the remaining 50 cents of your budget, Dallas.
Maybe I should turn on the super chat button. So
Thanks, Mohawk.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you all next week, and thanks for stopping by.
See you guys later.
I want to thank Clint and Levi and Mrs. Levi and Professor P and John Wilburn for being here this weekend. So we'll see you next week.
It's been fun. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.